Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Everything Poutine Webinar. My name is David Baudouin, I'm the Canadian Cheese Ambassador, and am I ever excited to be here to share some amazing secrets of poutine. Poutine's such a great comfort food, but I don't want to do this all alone. I want to do this with someone very special. She's an awesome personality, great character, and she's a registered dietitian, which makes it really awesome to connect with food, soul food. Hannah, Maggie, Artie, you are here with us today. How are you?
Hello. Hi, everyone. Hello, David. I am so excited to be here with you today. I'm so excited to be making these 3 different poutine recipes with you and with dairy farmers of Canada. And you know what? Like you said, I'm a dietitian and I work in the media and I really like to get people excited about food. And I know that's what we're going to do here today. And some people might be wondering, you know, what is a dietitian doing on a poutine webinar? That doesn't really add up, right? But I say, you know what? I think that all different types of foods can fit in a healthy, balanced lifestyle in moderation, right? And that's what we're doing today. We're getting excited about food, about cooking at home, and we're enjoying some poutine in moderation.
Nice. Thank you, Maggie, for saying this because, Hannah, because it's absolutely true. And this is a soul food. If we're going to have the best comfort food in the world, because Canada is known for poutine all over the world, well, might as well do it right and do a really good homemade poutine that makes our soul feel good. And then, and then we can share some tricks. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, I am so ready. Let's get started.
Nice. So I started as the squeaky cheese guy, by the way. So cheese curds for me is a staple in my life. So we're going to have cheese curds in all those poutines. So really excited to start. But the 3 elements of a poutine, Hannah, what are they?
So we need our cheese curds, of course, we need our sauce, and then we need our potatoes, you know, our fries. So I want you to tell me a little bit about how we can choose the perfect potato for our French fries, and tell us about the different ones we can use. And maybe, you know, I know traditionally our potatoes are deep fried into French fries, but if we don't have a deep fryer at home, how can we cook them? What are our options?
Absolutely. You can actually just go to the store and buy like frozen fries and get your favorite ones. Most of them, even from big companies, come from Canada. Actually, Prince Edward Island, a lot of them. So pretty awesome. You can bake them in the oven, put a little oil to it, add a little salt, pepper, and just bake them in the oven as well, just straight from potatoes. But choosing your potato is also kind of important. So I'm going to show you here. I have 4 potatoes. I have the white potato right here. All right. This is one fries that's used a lot called Cannabec. Usually they use the white potato. We have a yellow potato right here, Yukon Gold, that you can find a lot in store. I have a russet, and you can really feel the texture and the skin's different, like very thin skin on those. This one a little more. And then the red potatoes, which I've used a lot because, to tell you the truth, according to recommendations, they don't say to use those because they're more waxy. The red potatoes, they call it waxy, and they recommend it more for last recipe with those little baked or roasted potatoes. But the reds are just awesome when you do it right for fries as well. So I made my fries with red potatoes, which turns into a more crispy outside. And when you add the sauce, they don't become soggy. And because they have a little more sugar in the taste, because they're still mild, you can keep the skin because the skin is very thin. And they give a nice sweetness to my deep fried fries. And to tell you the truth, Hannah, there's something that I do when I make fries. So I'm going to share a secret with you right away. Is for my fries, I blanch them. But I don't blanch them once deep fried. I actually blanch them twice. The first one is a cold blanching. And so what I do is I have my fries and I actually cook them from the potato right there. and they become like just until they start getting a little golden on the fries. And what that does is that it cooks the inside and they become very, very nice on the fries, nice and soft inside, but starting to go and then go nice and crispy. But as soon as I do that, I take them out, let them cool off until I'm ready to make the fries. And the second blanching, so the first one is at 360 degrees or so, and then I crank the deep fryer so it's at as hot as it can get, and I get them to turn the perfect color. And I'm just gonna show you over here my fries here so that they turn nice and dark. And that's a little harder with the reds because if they're not all the same, they turn that color a little faster.
Wow.
So secret fries.
That is amazing. Oh my gosh, we're only a couple minutes in and you've already given us so much amazing information to create the best poutine at home. Now, okay, we talked about our fries. I need to ask you about the poutine sauce or the gravy. So what is your secret for getting the perfect poutine sauce?
Thanks for asking. Yes. So I'm going to start putting the first poutine because we're doing 3 poutines today, Anna. And the first one is the classic. So it'll be a great thing to talk about the sauce on the classic. The second we're going to elevate the poutine with the cheese dumplings. And then the third one, we're going to finish it because it's almost the maple season all over the country. And so we're going to make a breakfast poutine that's Maple Shack style, okay? So while I'm putting my fries here, I'm going to talk about the sauce. But I'll show you at the same time how I do my classic, and you can go on with me if you have that. The first secret of making, perfect. The first secret is to have enough cheese curds that you can actually throw some cheese curds right there. First on your plate so that you have nuggets of goodness anywhere with every bite of your poutine. So that is how I start it. Then I take my fries, layer all over, just like this. And then the sauce. But before the sauce, I will tell you a little something. So you can easily take your sauce. You can buy sauce that you make from the store in a little pouch and gives a nice classic poutine sauce. But what you can do, and what I love to do, is whenever I cook food for the family, like I do a chicken from the farmers that lives next door, for example, or from the store, what I do is I make chicken broth, and then I make a roux with flour and butter, and then I mix that and start my sauce with the real broth. And that just gives such a good flavor to your sauce. So that's the first thing I love to do myself, but sometimes in a pinch, I definitely go to the store and get a classic pouch of gravy mix, and it works well, but I buy the poutine sauce. Then there's another secret. You know, there's like when you make dill pickles or any types of pickle, there's some, I like the banana peppers, and I take some of that juice that's in the container and add it, because a little vinegary to the sauce goes a long way to gives a nice little tang that works so well with poutine. And you can add a little ketchup as well. So that's a little secret right there.
Awesome. All right. Are we going to put
Over
this
here?
together?
Yes. So now the next thing is the cheese curds. Cheese curds are amazing when they're just slightly warm, and we can revive the squeak that way. But what I do is I take my ladle, I put all the cheese curds that I'm going to put on the poutine right in there. And then what I do, make sure the pieces are just nice, and then I use the sauce and I cover my cheese with the sauce that's nice and hot. Do you know why I do this?
I'm guessing it has something to do, is it softening the cheese a little bit, making it gooey?
Yes, it warms up the cheese to what I call, Hannah, maximum squeaky addictiveness. Because when you warm up the cheese, it just, first of all, when you have your poutine, there's nothing, it's not as pleasant when you get the cold cheese on the warm poutine. So this will warm up every piece of cheese, and every piece of cheese will have a little bit of that gravy or sauce to it. So I make sure it touch everything, and then I pour over my poutine. Just like this. All right, and then, because I'm a sauce type, I love sauce, so I always add more sauce. I love sauce. There we go.
Wow.
Classic poutine. Now we have cheese underneath it all, right? You remember that we put a few nuggets underneath?
Mm-hmm.
So what I like to do is just give it a little move like this, so the sauce goes all throughout, even down at the bottom.
What a great tip. Oh my gosh, this looks amazing.
Yes, let's have a look here. Oh yes, so this is the classic poutine. Ooh.
Gorgeous. Show mine.
Yes. Over here. How's yours looking?
This is what mine looks like here. My plate's not as
Nice.
big, but oh my gosh, I'm getting hungry.
That's awesome. All right, so are we ready to move on to the second poutine?
I think so. Why don't you tell us what our second one is? Tell us about it.
Well, yeah, because Hannah, what I wanted to do is like, the classic poutine is a classic. Lots of people tell me, David, you cannot mess with the classic poutine. And it is true in many ways. You can switch the sauce to make it interesting. You can actually add any type of toppings to it to make it really interesting. It's a tradition for us as a family now at Christmas time. We make Christmas poutine. So you can make it interesting, put colors, some vegetables sometimes that way, all on the classic touch of it. But I wanted to elevate it to the next level. So I made something that even people at home, even restaurant can create, that is still the same ingredients, but we make it a whole new ball game. And I say ball because they're actually dumplings. They're little balls, really. So look at this. This is the end result of what that is. All right. Let's go and cover this. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Now, I have a question. So I know that when we make these balls or these dumplings, we're going to be dipping them in a beer batter. So, why beer with cheese and why beer batter? Why did you decide on that?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Because beer and cheese is actually even easier to pair than wine and cheese. They're kind of working well together, and a little bit of salt as well works really well with beer and bring like the effervescence of the beer. So that's why I wanted to do this, but also because when you make a batter and you have that carbonation in the beer, it just makes your batter fluffier, which works really nice, and the batter is there to just add some texture. Because let's not forget, Hannah, we're professional eaters. We eat at least 3 times a day, and the snacks and everything, so might as well enjoy a little bit of different flavors and texture coming together. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. I love that. I love that term, professional eaters. I'm going to use that from here on out.
Yeah, it is true. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure we go and you see how I do it right before your eyes. I made some mashed potatoes and I use boursin in my mashed potatoes. Why? Because it's super creamy, and then I don't have to add so much more ingredients to my potatoes, because that does like all the cream and everything all together. So I got some of my mashed potatoes here. And what I'm gonna do is I got some curds that I chopped in very small amounts. And then I'm just gonna make a ball with the curds and the mashed potatoes. I just like mine with lots of cheese, so I put lots in it. Because in my book, cheese you can just put more and more and more. And then it'll make a nice little ball that will have that string to it after you fry it.
Very cool.
All right.
Okay.
So you're making yours as well? Here we are.
I'm following along here.
Super. My nice little cheese ball here. Now, very important, you need to take that cheese ball and dip it in flour before you do the batter. Very, very important. It's going to get the batter to stick to it, and then it'll fry perfectly afterwards. So a little bit of flour here, and then you dip. So this gets a little messy, but hey, all you have to do is get yourself good music and have the family join in. If you have kids, have them dip those little balls in the batter. It gets messy, but so much good memories for the family. And it's a big part of what it's about, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So now I'm dipping in my beer batter. And like this. And the final touch to give that crispy is the panko breadcrumbs. So now I'm just going for it. Make sure you have lots of it because you want to make sure it's well covered all around. It gives such a nice crispy touch to the whole thing. And then we have a nice squeaky cheese and potato dumpling, which becomes a poutine. Yes, here we are.
Look at that.
Good work on your end as well.
Thank you. I'm making a mess, but you know what? It's okay.
It's part of it. It's part of it. All right. So now I have my dumpling here. I'm just going to make sure I wipe my fingers because very important. And keep your hands always nice and clean before you start. I washed my hands. You did as well because I saw you beforehand. But very important because when we're handling cheese, you want to stay clean. It's one of the 3 C's. Clean, cold, and covered. All right? Very important with cheese. So, cheese dumplings. Now, there is something really awesome about those dumplings. You can, Hannah, and everybody on the call, just take the sauce that you had from the classic. But you can elevate it by just adding a little bit of barbecue sauce. Or your favorite relish, for example. That's a very nice combination to add to just elevate your sauce that you already made without having to make more. So super simple that way, and then you get a new sauce. The barbecue sauce is my go-to sauce. I just love barbecue sauce. So that's what I'm gonna do.
Okay, so I've got a question that came in before we put our sauce on here. A question came through, and someone wants to know, do we only use white cheese curds? Because there are orange curds available as well. So what do you recommend?
Oh, that's a great question because, well, the truth is, I don't know out there if you like better. How about you, Anna? Do you like better orange cheese or do you like better white cheese?
I think I like white cheese better, and especially the curds. I mean, I just feel like in the poutine experiences that I've had, that seems to be the more classic option. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, if it was Halloween time, I would suggest the orange one because it's pretty cool, and you can make a Halloween poutine, for example. But the truth is, milk is white. So here is a little hint. In Canada, we have white cows for white milk, orange cows for orange milk, and brown cows for chocolate milk. Did you know that?
I didn't. Thank you for letting me know.
Just kidding. It all comes from all different breeds of cows, and the milk is always white or a little bit off-white. So, and if you add coloring, a coloring called annatto is what's used, which looks like a bean, and it's all natural color extracted. And it has absolutely no flavor. So it's your own preference, and if your brain tells you it's better orange or it's better white, there's actually no difference in that way because the coloring doesn't add any taste.
Awesome.
Nice. Thanks for asking. This is a great question. All right,
Yeah,
are
for
you ready?
sure.
I'm gonna pour some sauce over my dumplings here. Let's
Okay.
do this. And see, oh yes. This is a nice homemade sauce. And as you notice, I have added some iceberg lettuce to my plate because I love that crunchy, juicy that also comes with it. And at this time, also a little bit of the sprouts because they're coming up. They're just delicious. They add a little green to my plate as well. And I love to just decorate a little bit with some
Okay.
more greens and a little parsley. All right, over here. And then green onions. Just to finish it off. Just like
Wow.
this.
It's so beautiful. And you know what? I always say that we eat with our eyes as well, right? You know, obviously we eat with our mouths, but part of the eating experience is the food looking nice too, right? And experiencing that. So I think we're definitely doing that here.
Absolutely. Well, it's just so important because when we take the time in life, life is so busy nowadays. Anyway, in my world and in many people's world, everything goes so fast. When we take the time to sit and enjoy a food, look at it, we salivate, we get ready to eat our food, and no matter if it's the healthiest or not the healthiest, if you feel good about having it, that is health right there. When you treat your soul to something special. I'm not perfect, but I love to have a poutine once in a while, and it
Yeah.
makes me feel good. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. You know what? Once in a while, like I said, we have to have that something that feeds our soul, that something that we really love, and that's part of health, right? Exactly.
Yeah, especially these days. We need this little music, fun times, and make some good poutine at home. So I hope everyone this weekend has at least a poutine to enjoy, because that's the theme.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I've got another question coming in here. So someone wants to know, how are cheese curds made? And I want to know, where can we get the best cheese curds, or where are the best cheese curds from?
Oh, those are great questions. So I'll tell you, because cheese curds and the ones I have here come from right here in Armstrong, BC, because that's close to where I live. And those cheese curds are nice little morsel. Just beware, because in French we call them cheese turds, which is kind of funny, but that's kind of a little bit how they look. They are a cheddar. And cheddar, believe it or not, is one of the hardest cheese to make. It's just that we have so much of it that we forget about that fact. But it takes about 8 hours for a full day of making cheddar. You end up with about 10%. And so if you use 100 liters of milk, you end up with 10 kilogram of cheese. So it's concentrated milk, because milk is an awesome food. And we're so lucky here in Canada because we have an amazing quality of milk. So, to answer your question, this is a little bit of how they're made. Cheese curds, it always comes from the milk, and then we add coagulant, and it separates the curds from the whey as we bake to the right temperature. And then you separate them. The whey can still be used in many ways, but it's not easy to dispose of the whey any way you want.
Right.
I could go on in the poetic way about whey, but so there's lots of benefit in whey as well. There's still lots of lactic protein as well in whey that you can turn into ricotta, but that's another step. When you make cheddar, you make like slabs of cheddar in the end, and then they're all chopped up into little morsels. You add the salt, which will also stop the acidity from increasing to the right pH level so we can eat it. And they turn a little round as you keep baking them, and they're just delightful, fresh, just like this. So this is the step before you take those curds and press them into big cheddar blocks and then age them. So this is a very fresh, day it's made kind of cheese. Wow. So hope that answered the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, I am so lucky to be here with you today, learning so much from you. This is amazing.
That's great. And then where does the best cheese curd comes from? Well, I have the answer for you all. The best cheese curds come from where you're from. That's exactly where they come from, the best cheese curds. Because coming back, like I grew up in Quebec City, and let me tell you, in every little suburban, there was a little cheese factory, and all of us and all the friends were always fighting to tell you the best cheese curds come from my cheese factory. So that is the answer. Wherever you are, buy some fresh cheese curds wherever you are. They are amazing when they're like the first 24 hours, room temperature, they're squeaky under your teeth. And actually, now that I think of it, there's a way, if they're old cheese curds, there's a way to revive them. Did you know that?
I didn't, but I'm very curious to hear what it is.
Yeah, so if you get your curds and they're maybe a week old, you will have lost the squeak. And the squeak is a cool thing, part of it. Some people like them when they're softer, actually. If you like them when they're stringier and they melt easier, then higher moisture, and then you can actually have older cheese curds and they will string a little more. When they're fresh, they don't melt easy because fresh cheese doesn't melt easy. So what you need to do, trick, you put them in a bowl. If you have a microwave and use that at home, 15-second max, depending on the amount you have, will bring the squeak back or quite a bit of string. But beware, because if you put it too long in the microwave, you might end up with a puddle of squeak. Okay? So you gotta really check that out. The other way is put it in a Ziploc bag or a bag that's well sealed and put them in warm water. And just a few minutes will bring them back to very nice. Or drop them in your chicken noodle soup, or drop them on top of a pizza after you take it out, and it'll just warm up the cheese to perfection.
Wow. Yeah, you know what? That is so great because I know, we don't always, I think we have the best intentions when we buy ingredients to make recipes at home, but sometimes we don't get around to it right away. So it's nice to know how we can bring that squeak back if, we have days old cheese curds at home. So that is great.
Exactly. And it becomes more of a regular cheddar that we'd buy more in store, like a mild cheddar. You'll see the taste change over time and becomes more like a regular cheddar. Awesome. Well, I'm excited. Those two plates already look fantastic over here. So I'll give you another plan of my cheese dumpling over here. Hope everyone can see well how nice. Oh my, this is exciting. I have a whole family that are waiting for me to finish so they can devour this.
Okay, well, I have another question for you. Now, I'm curious about this. I know that poutine is, it's a signature Canadian dish. We all know that. But what's the history of it? Like, how did it originate? How was it created? Tell us about that.
Well, this is an interesting thing, and I don't want to go and elaborate too much because there's some people that say they invented the poutine and other ones that say they invented the poutine. Some put some brevet and patent to say they created it. In the end, there's other restaurants that without them, the poutine would not have been known because even where I grew up, they just served and gave poutine sample to everybody after they discovered that the three things came so well together. So it started back in the days and had lots of, there's someone who asked to mix the fries with cheese, the cheese curds that they were serving separately. And that moved on to a man who was in the sauce business and just started adding the sauce. And then it's become more of the poutine we know today. And then finally, all the restaurants that are making it known. And when you taste a really good poutine, then you realize, oh my goodness, when it's well made, it's so tasty. And if you create a taste bud party, well, it's happiness right there. And so it's on the hand of many people. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Another question came in before we jump into our third recipe. What brand of cheese curds did you use and can you get them in Ontario?
Well, That is a very good question. And this leads me to tell everybody that you will receive an email next week after this as a follow-up so you can rewatch, but also you have on dairyfarmersofcanada.ca, on that website, you will have, actually there is, because I looked at it, the list of all the cheese curds that wear the blue cow. So this is what you want to do, but my recommendation, if you're in Ontario, don't buy the cheese curds I used here. Buy the ones that you have right next door to you, because you're going to get the freshest and the best. But really, they're all amazing cheese curds throughout the whole country. So just look for that blue cow and you will know it comes from our own dairy farmers. You will know you support our own people. You will know that you have one of the best quality of milk in the world, and that turns out into amazing cheese.
Wow. And yeah, you're so right. We have so many amazing farmers, you know, all over Canada producing such quality milk, such quality cheese. It really is amazing. And I love that you say, you know, that the best cheese curds are where you're from, because they're going to be the freshest. So that's such a great point, and I'm going to remember that for sure.
Totally. And now you know how to revive them if you don't eat them all right away. But my suggestion, if you go to buy cheese curds and you buy a small bag, that's not the right thing to do. You need to buy at least two. One for right away and one to keep for the next day.
Perfect. Okay, good advice. Good advice.
Yep. All right. Are we ready to get to our Maple Shack breakfast poutine?
I am so ready. I'm so excited for this one. I have a bit of a sweet tooth, so I'm excited for this one.
Nice. I do too, and it's such a nice combination. Now, also what you're going to get after this is next week when you receive your email, you have access to all those recipes. So to make the sauces that we made today, you can make it at home with all of this. So go on dairyfarmersofcanada.ca and you will have access to all those recipes. All right, hash browns. Did you make your hash browns?
I did. So I think we have something different. You look like you've got like your potatoes almost roasted, like those kind of hash browns. What I did was grated my potatoes and fried them up to make these hash browns here, if everyone can see that there. So
that's
I think
great.
Either way though, it's going to be delicious.
Yes. So that's totally awesome. And I love to hear that. But I want to know what potato you use to shred your potatoes.
So I used, actually for all my recipes, I bought a big bag and I used the reds. And you know what? I had a little taste test, and I had a taste test of the hash browns, the fries, and it was all delicious. So it turned out well.
Super awesome. So that's fantastic to hear. The beauty with the reds is that they'll keep their shape. And that's such a great thing when you roast them or fry them, or they just hold their shape. They won't mush away on you as you turn them, as they fry in a pan or something. So that's a great thing. But I love the shredded idea, and actually I've made it with shredded potatoes as well, which is fantastic. So good on you.
Oh, thanks.
All right. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna get that last poutine ready before your eyes. And I'm sure you'll do the same, Hannah.
I will.
Okay. Yeah. So over here, I have my roasted red potatoes. And by the way, Yukon Golds are also an amazing one that work all around. Because they're in between with the waxiness and the starchiness, which makes for really awesome potato to use all around. Now, while I'm making this, there's something very important is I love, while my potatoes are nice and warm, this is when I love to mix my cheese to it. Because as you now know, cheese curds, when they're warmed up to perfect squeaky addictiveness, they're just awesome. So I mix them with the warm and hot potatoes. And then what I did is I made some breakfast sausages. So I get those sausages as well right with it, so that every bite I can have a little bit of cheese, a little bit of meat. It's like a poutine cheese board, like really, that we're having right there. And then, because that's not over, now we're just like having something tasty, but we're making it breakfast style. So breakfast calls for what?
I think we
Eggs?
need eggs. Yeah, absolutely.
Eggs. So I'm just gonna put, what I like is I make my eggs over easy, and then I have that yolk, nice orange, and like going everywhere on the poutine as you cut through. So here it is. I covered mine with the eggs right here. And now, because I like it, I'm just gonna add a little more cheese, because I can always add a little more cheese over here. Egg and cheese, this is a great way to absorb your calcium as well, right? Because eggs
absolutely
is a great fit for cheese.
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
Now, I've got this. What are we missing?
Well, I think we need to add some color to it, a little bit of color. We need our sauce as well. Can't forget that.
That's right. So let's do the sauce. Really excited. The sauce in this case is, it's something very, very awesome. I added to mine, and this is up to your preference. I cooked my sauce right from a roux. I added the milk, so I made it a bechamel. And what I added to it is a little bit of maple whiskey, which is called sortilège, and it's delicious. Just 1 ounce into the mix. And if you're worried for your kids, as it cooks, all the alcohol evaporates, but you end up with a very nice flavor. If you want to substitute for straight maple syrup, absolutely go ahead. It works just fantastic. But for me, it's just a little fun to add a little something different. And I actually added also maple mustard to it, which gives it a super nice little tang and just so delicious. Oh yes, beauty.
Wow.
Covering all this here.
You're giving us so many different tips that we can kind of customize it and make it our own too. You know, we don't have to stick to the script exactly. We can add a few things in there, experiment a little bit. So that's great.
Yes, and that's how the best chefs become the best chefs. And you are the best chefs of your home. So make mistakes, try a few things, and it just makes for delicious poutine right here. For breakfast, my kids, when I made that for testing, they loved it so much that they've asked for it for supper, and they've asked for it for the next breakfast. Yeah. But I always add my little touch of green onions to it, which makes it, look delicious. A little green just goes a long way, and it gives a lot of flavor. I love to add a little basil to it. When you add a little touch of basil to each bite, it's just fantastic as well. And I'm a big fan of dill. So dill and fresh herbs it just makes my day. So I'm just always gonna add a little bit of dill over here. And then as I eat a little bit of the fresh dill to go with it.
Yeah, the fresh herbs, they always add, they elevate a recipe, and you don't even need a lot, but it's great. Yes.
And then the sprouts too, like just as you have like some nice rich food and you just bring in a little bit of those crunchy greens, it's just wonderful.
Wow. Here's mine.
Oh, beauty. Love it. Oh, this is such a treat to be sharing all this with all of you, ladies and gentlemen, and Hannah. I'm so happy that you're here and just talking about this because it's poutine, and poutine is delicious. But yes, you don't have to fry it. You can just bake it. Potatoes have lots of goodness to them. They may not have the reputation they need to have. And then cheese is a whole food. It has so much benefit, nutrients for us. So I think in the end, when you do it right in moderation, it's just an amazing thing to do.
Yeah, you're so right. You know what? I like what you said about potatoes. They may not get the reputation they deserve. They are so nutritious. And the cheese too, it's protein. So we're balancing the meal, right? We've got some nice fiber-rich carbohydrates from our potatoes, some protein from the cheese. That's balance, right?
That's balanced. Yeah, lots of veggies in there too. Yeah, I think it's a full meal.
Yeah, and like you said about the fries, you can bake them. And I did get a question as well. Can you use the air fryer for the fries?
Absolutely. And that's the beauty. Like there's air fryer, there's oven, there's the way you want to do your potatoes and your fries. The inspiration is right here today to say, hey, you don't have to keep it in a square box that Poutine is the only classic and that's it. Just enjoy, play, discover, add some different flavor. This is what life is about. So yes, you can use your air fryer and you might have less oil. You can use different oils as well to fry. So there's just so many aspects to it to make it your own at home with a base like what we're doing today.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Yeah, you're right. We can make our own little tweaks exactly at home and make it the way we want. So great. Absolutely.
Yes. Nice. I'm just going to give a little view of that last one here for all of you to see. That's my breakfast poutine right here. It's just so delicious, and the sweet tones, but then you get a little bit of not just the sweet, but also the maple syrup. And really you'll have every bite a little bit of egg, onion, the nice squeaky cheese that comes through it. It's just every bite is enjoyable until it's all gone. And then you realize, all right, ready for the day.
Exactly. Yeah, you're ready to start the day. All right, another question came through here. Can you freeze the cheese curds?
Oh, I love this question, actually. This is such a great question because cheese, when you freeze cheese, the cheese will taste exactly the same. However, the big deal with freezing cheese is that the texture will change. And so if you have a big piece of cheddar, keep it as big as you can. It will age better, especially if it doesn't have too much moisture. For cheese curds, if you get them fresh, buy more and freeze them right away. The fastest you freeze them, the better. And then you can pull as you need, but you always have cheese curds ready for your next poutine with the family. Or to throw in your hot soup. My kids love to put ice cubes, but they don't put ice cubes anymore. They put frozen cheese curds to cool off your soup and have that perfect textured cheese curds afterwards. So yes, you can.
I love that. And yeah, you know what, the cheese curds, you're right. And we were talking about this before we came on the webinar, that they're actually quite versatile. You can use them in more than just poutine, soup. And I would even toss them in a salad or something. If I had some and I needed to use them up, why not?
Absolutely. And you know what's great? You can actually just take a little cup of maple syrup and dip them in there. Back home, when I go back home in March, usually around that time where the season's like really changing, gets super cold at night and warm during the day, our maple trees in the backyard are dripping, and they're not even like maple or sugar maple trees. But we gather buckets, we reduce it, and then I throw my bag of cheese curds. When I get the last part, they become like perfect squeaky addictiveness, and then we eat them. Maple syrup cheese curds are great.
Wow, I'll have to try it.
Yes. All right, so we got our 3 poutine. I hope everyone is excited to try those. Now I know, Hannah, you're probably gonna try as well and eat them. I hope you have a few people that can help you, because there's gonna be a few to eat.
I know, we've got a lot of food here. I'm lucky I've got my fiance, he's upstairs, and I think he's waiting for this to end so he can come down and just feast on all the different options that we've got here. So I think he's excited, and he's been waiting for this. He's hungry. So
nice. And the smell, you probably can smell it, because I know how good it smells in here.
So good. So good.
It's a big part of it, you know, use all your senses, take your time and share with people that you love and feel good. Like, feel good when you have a good food. This is a big part of the message. And then buy from our own people. Keep that money. Right now is a time to support people from here and support our dairy farmers. Buy Canadian dairy. This is the blue cow. We're so lucky. So look for it. And now you have the list at dairyfarmersofcanada.ca that you know which curds have the blue logo, and support your local cheesemakers at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So it looks like we have about 15 minutes left, and I think that is set aside for our Q&A period, or if the people out there want to send in more questions, this time is dedicated to helping you out and answering your questions. So send them in. I know they've been coming in as we've been making our recipes, but if there's any more questions out there, this is your time to get them answered.
Fantastic. Did you have another question of something, some sort that we wouldn't have touched on poutine?
Well, you know what? I mean, I'd love to know some other ways that you mentioned. You mentioned soup. We talked about salads. I mean, I'm just curious because I'm always trying to get creative in the kitchen. So I'd love to know more ways that we can use our cheese curds, in our cooking. And I know I'm sure you've got lots of ideas for us.
Yes. You know what works really good with cheese curds as well is balsamic vinegar, balsamic reduction. So if you're making your home salad and you got some cheese curds laying around, you can simply throw that in your salad. So you can just get a mixed green or whatever you have handy of greens, throw those cheese curds on there. You can pre-warm them the way I explained earlier, just ahead of time, so they're the perfect squeaky addictiveness. And you can just serve them on your salad. It works amazing that way. Another thing is we're stuck at home a little bit, but what you can do, it's the Maple Shack time coming up. So when you're at home and you want to have something different, take those cheese curds and put them in the pan. The butter fat that comes out and expelled from the cheese curds is perfect to make that cheese all nice and golden. And then they will melt because the pan is really, really hot, and they'll become cookies of cheese. And then you can flip them around and they're all nice and golden, and you can serve them as cheese cookies or cheese chips, which works amazing. Nice. I have another one because now Easter is also coming next weekend. Everyone has a long weekend. Get some good quality local chocolate, for example, and then melt it so you can make a chocolate fondue. Cheese curds dipped in chocolate fondue is amazing. So I invite you to try that. You get the sweet and salty, and you get also that milky taste to it that's just so delicious. And guess what? The kids will love you. You get fruits and you get cheese and a little chocolate. Yeah, we're talking with Hannah here, so I'm giving you all good ideas with different foods that are good for the soul.
Yeah, absolutely. And okay, speaking of cheese curds and chocolate, I've got another question that came in. This is really interesting. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Can you put cheese curds in your hot chocolate?
Oh, absolutely you can. And I'm just so delighted to hear that question, because last year doing some shows all around when I was traveling everywhere, that is what I was doing live, putting some cheese curds in hot chocolate and putting some cheese curds in coffee. So yes, you can, and I strongly recommend to do it. And it will revive your cheese curds, and it works just awesome together, bringing your cheese curds back to the perfect squeaky addictiveness. And the beauty of it is that if they're fresh, they won't melt in your hot chocolate. So you'll drink your hot chocolate, and then at the end, the magic! The cheese curds is right there for you to enjoy. Yeah.
Wow. And I love that. And you mentioned it, that kind of mix of sweet and salty. I'm a big fan of that. So I'm definitely going to have to try that. Now I have another question here. This one, so this is back to the poutine sauce or the gravy. The question is it better to use beef or chicken gravy or stock for your gravy?
So I love the question, because the truth is you don't even need to use one or the other. Back where I grew up, there was lots of, I started making my own with pork as well. So broth from that. And so you can use any broth. If you're a vegetarian but you eat cheese, this is a great way also. You can use like a vegetarian broth. My personal preference, I do love it with my fresh chicken, and I love it also a mix of those two broths. So I actually get the beef broth, which gives a darker color as well naturally, and then I bring the chicken, which is milder, and they combine super nicely together. So I love to use both when I make my own sauce or gravy.
Yeah.
So hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and it's nice to hear again. And I think it's a common theme here that like you can really put your own kind of touch on it and use what you have and get creative. You know, there's no strict rules with the poutine. So that's great. Let me see here if we've got any more questions that came in. Excuse me. All right. Oh, what is in the beer batter? Someone's curious about that. What's in the beer batter?
Oh, super simple. You get like 1 cup. In my case, I used a dark ale because I find that the dark ale brings the flavor of the beer and still have a little fizziness, but not too much. Usually the dark ales or stouts are not as fizzy, but they give a nice little fluff to the batter. So I use my dark stout, 1 cup of it with 1 cup of flour, and then 1 egg that you just beat and make sure it's all nice and together. You mix all those three. I add a little bit of garlic powder and a little bit of cracked pepper to it. And that is it. This is what comes out of it. It's a perfect little batter. It has some darkness to it, but it's so delicious, flavorful, and it works amazing to make those dumplings.
Yeah, you know what? The beer batter really does add so much flavor. And I noticed that because I've always, you know, I thought, oh, does it really make a difference? And then I made these and I tried it, and it really does add such a nice flavor.
Yes.
So let's see here. What else we've got for questions? Are there flavored cheese curds on the market that we can buy?
There is lots of flavored cheese curds. When I started, because that's how I started my career in the cheese, I was the squeaky cheese guy with the squeaky cheese van delivering fresh cheese curds that previously made right there and brought them all over the Okanagan Valley, and then it became the most popular cheese curds in Western Canada, and that's why I'm also known as the squeaky cheese guy. And what happens is I had to create different flavors. So I threw in some garlic, I threw in some banana peppers all chunked up. And so there's tons, dill, onion and chives. And then the list goes on. We even smoked some cheese curds. There's like your imagination is what stops it. So you can also buy those curds from the companies that make flavored cheese curds, but you can also just buy your fresh cheese curds and then make them your favorite flavor. So that's the beauty of it. It's just a matter of, hey, let's try something new. And that's how it is. That's why I used a fresh boursin into my mashed potatoes. I didn't have to add anything else, and it just made it so creamy and all the flavors coming through of the garlic and herbs. Yeah, and you know what? That's such a great point that we're really simplifying things here. And I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit intimidated at first before making all of these things, but then I did it at home when I was prepping for this, and it was actually really simple to make all 3 of these recipes. So definitely, don't be intimidated because it's quite simple and it's very delicious. The result is very delicious. So and make it fun. Right. Yeah, make it fun, because that's what it's about. Take the time, because it will take, if you want to do it all from scratch, it will take some time. But like anything worth doing in life, if you take the time to do it, there's the whole journey and experience of doing it. And in the end, that's what life is about. We're creating memories, and then our taste buds are thanking him, thanking us for it all.
Yeah, they really are. They really are. Okay, so we've got another question that came in. Is it acceptable to use duck confit to make poutine?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, this is another perfect example of elevating a poutine to the next level. The truth is, the creaminess. I personally love duck confit. I actually love it. So I would like sprinkle it all over, and then you can get the wine out and just have a virtual event with the friends that are all cooking poutine with some music, and you have an elevated poutine with your nice glass of wine. And yes, absolutely, you can. Yeah, it's the fun. And this, I love those ideas because they bring something different. They bring some creativity for you to really get to experience and make your poutine your own. And then I see you on social media tagging me along, tagging Dairy Farmers of Canada along, tagging Hannah along, because you've made something special, and everyone, the whole world should know about it, because that's special and it's happiness.
Now, this is my question. I'm just going to ask. So I'm from the East Coast. I'm originally from Halifax, Nova Scotia. I'm currently in Moncton, New Brunswick. And one thing that's really, really popular in Halifax is donaires. And now what they've done in Halifax is they've started creating donaire poutines. So they include some donaire meat on there. And oh my gosh, have you ever had it?
I haven't had the donaire poutine, but I can tell you I've had poutine with possibly every kind of topping there is, for sure. So,
Yeah.
and yeah, with the meat added to it, that's kind of the idea with the breakfast poutine. But yes, you can use roast beef, you can use chicken, you can use pork skewers. Like, just go on and enjoy creating. Yes, I totally, and I love to see that chains and restaurants are actually doing something different. And there's some people that will still just enjoy the classic, and it's okay.
Yeah,
It's all good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's all good. It's all good. All right. I think that's all of the questions that I had come through there. I thought I had another one, but it looks like that's all the questions. I'll just monitor to see if any other ones come through, but we're just about done here. Wow. Thank you so much for all of this amazing information. I'm just blown away, and I'm quite hungry. I'll tell you, I'm very excited to eat all of this afterwards.
It'll be a treat. Well, I want to make sure that, first of all, I want to thank you, Hannah, for taking the time to come join me and Dairy Farmers of Canada in this, because having someone like you making realize to people that anything in moderation can be good for you. So that's super, super awesome. And I want to thank you for being a human being, just the way you are. Perfect, not perfect, we are all human beings. So once in a while, it's worth to treating ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You're so right.
I also want to thank Dairy Farmers of Canada for organizing this and get that knowledge out, because they care. My day previous to COVID, I traveled the country. I work with cheesemakers as the Canadian cheese ambassador, seeing how they make their cheese and everything. And I work with the farmers, visited so many farms across the country. And our farmers, they're humble, they're real, they care, they're hard worker. And this is why I'm so happy to be here to spread that message and incite people to buy local from our farmers. Very, very good. So I want to thank you, everybody, to make a conscious decision every time you're in store and look for the blue cow when you buy, because it supports our own people and ultimately our community and ultimately our families. So that's another thing. I want to thank you, everybody, for joining and connecting together in making this world a better place, treating our souls and being.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. And just one last time, I want to thank you so much for spreading this knowledge and helping us get creative and cook more in the kitchen and get excited about food, because that's what it's all about, right? And you know what? I'm so excited not only to get creative with poutine at home, but to get creative with cheese and cheese curds at home too. So thank you.
Yes, I think there was lots of knowledge on how to use, reuse, and enjoy curds and all the things we have fully and thoroughly. So everybody, don't forget that you can go next week, you'll receive an email and you have access to all the cheese curds with the Blue Cow logo on dairyfarmersofcanada.ca. And look up for the link, because you can rewatch this video so you can make it at home, also following the recipes that are on the website. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you.
Have an amazing day and enjoy some good poutine. Yeah.